Okay, let's just dive straight into this. Today's explainer is a wild one. We're looking at an incredible compilation of 30 of the most baffling, tragic, and honestly downright creepy unsolved mysteries in recorded history. But we aren't just going to list out random weird events, right? We're going to organize them, break them down, and really try to get at the true nature of the unknown. So, to make sense of these 30 totally distinct cases without getting lost in the weeds, we're grouping them into 5 themes: vanished without a trace, cryptic codes and messages, bizarre biology and bodies, the truly unexplained, and finally, the enduring unknown. All right, starting us off with Section 1, Vanished Without a Trace, where people and entire vessels just disappear. It's honestly terrifying how some highly monitored environments yield absolutely zero clues. Take the USS Cyclops from World War I. We're talking about a massive 542-foot Navy ship disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle area with 306 people on board. Gone. Or, get this, the 1942 Ghost blimp? 2 U.S. Navy pilots go to investigate an oil slick, and a few hours later, their L-8 blimp crashes into a California cliff. It's perfectly intact. Throttles are idle, parachutes and lifeboats are still right there on board, but the cabin is just empty. You see similar things with the Flannan Isles Lighthouse in 1900. 3 keepers vanish, leaving only unmade beds. And Flight 19 in 1945, where 5 planes and 27 sailors disappeared after a compass failure. It just completely defies logic. Now, while losing entire ships is mind-boggling, terrestrial disappearances show how these tragedies hit right at home. In 1945, 5 of the 9 Sodder children seemingly vanished in a horrific Christmas Eve house fire. Their parents always believed foul play was involved, a belief that only intensified when an alleged photo of their missing son suddenly surfaced in 1967, over 2 decades later. And then you have the 1946 case of college sophomore Paula Jean Weldon. She vanished without a trace while hiking Vermont's Long Trail. Her disappearance was such an impactful, high-profile mystery that it literally led to the creation of the Vermont State Police. This naturally brings us to one of the most chilling timelines in history, the 1959 Dyatlov Pass tragedy. 9 hikers head out in January. By February, searchers find their tent, but it's been cut open from the inside. Think about that. They fled out into the freezing cold in sheer, absolute panic, leaving your winter gear behind. When the bodies were finally discovered, investigators found unexplained, horrific trauma. We're talking massive skull and chest damage, and some were even missing eyes and tongues. Experts are totally split on theories here, ranging from avalanches to sudden natural phenomena, and even secret military tests, but a definitive answer still completely out of reach. We also see these deeply bizarre human vanishings under completely weird circumstances. The Jameson family in 2009 is a perfect example. Right before they disappeared, home security footage caught them making 30 to 40 eerily silent trance-like trips just loading their truck. That same truck was later found abandoned with their malnourished dog, their IDs, and a bunch of cash inside. Their remains weren't discovered for another 4 years. Then, of course, there's the infamous 1975 vanishing of Teamsters union boss Jimmy Hoffa. Despite decades of allegations against people like Frank Sheeran and wild rumors that he was buried under Giant Stadium, Hoffa's final resting place is still a total enigma. Moving on to Section 2, Cryptic Codes and Messages, the Unreadable Leftovers. So, what happens when someone leaves something behind that we literally cannot read? The Tamumshud case is wild because it shows the limits of modern science against a historical oddity. Back in 1948, an unknown man was found deceased on an Australian beach. Tucked deep in his pocket was a torn piece of paper reading Tamamshud, which means ended in Persian. Shortly after, a totally undecipherable code was found linked to him. Now fast forward all the way to 2022, and DNA tracing finally tentatively identifies him as Carl Webb. But here's the thing, despite finally having a name, the code he carried and exactly what happened to him, still unsolved. And we see this phenomenon scaled up to an extreme degree. Look at the Voynich manuscript. It's a 15th century 250-page book written in an utterly uncrackable language and filled with sketches of plants that don't exist. What's crazy is that cryptologists say it matches real linguistic frequency patterns, meaning it's not just gibberish, yet it's baffled military codebreakers for decades. Compare that ancient text to the Toynbee tiles. Starting in the 1980s, these cryptic linoleum messages were just mysteriously embedded into the asphalt of city streets across the Americas, referencing British historian Arnold J. Toynbee and death. Both cases represent incredibly elaborate efforts to broadcast a message to the world, and both are totally unsolved. When you look at these complex ciphers, you really have to ask yourself, who is trying to communicate here? And why are they hiding their identity? What's the point of leaving a deeply complex message if you go out of your way to make it impossible for anyone to actually understand it? But sometimes the messages aren't codes at all. They're direct, terrifying intrusions into everyday life. The Circleville letters from the late 1970s are a prime example. An anonymous writer sent relentless threats exposing supposed town secrets, which actually led to a fatal accident. The absolute creepiest part? The letters kept coming even after the prime suspect was locked up in jail. Or how about the 1987 Max Headroom hijack? An unidentified guy in a rubber Max Headroom mask managed to hijack 2 major Chicago TV station broadcasts. He was just dancing and rambling with heavily distorted audio. The technical broadcast skill required to pull a stunt like that off back then was immense. Yet the perpetrators were never found. Okay, let's get into Section 3, Bizarre Biology and Bodies. This is where things get pretty gruesome. Imagine a pandemic that literally turns 500,000 people into living statues, unable to speak, unable to move, only to completely vanish from medical records a decade later. That was encephalitis lethargica, the sleeping sickness pandemic. Between 1915 and 1926, right around the time of the massive influenza pandemic, this disease claimed roughly 500,000 lives without leaving a single trace of its origin. To this day, scientists remain completely puzzled over what caused it and how it spread. Modern biological mysteries are just as wild, and they leave scientists fiercely debating whether it's a natural anomaly or sinister intervention. Look at Havana syndrome from 2016. U.S. diplomats in Cuba suffered undeniable brain injuries and memory loss. The theories for this? Everything from highly advanced sonic microwave weapons to, and I kid you not, the harmless sounds of Jamaican field crickets. Then there's the severed feet mystery starting in 2007. Over 21 human feet, usually still wearing sneakers, washed up on the shores of British Columbia and Washington. Are we just seeing the buoyancy of modern sneakers combined with natural decomposition, or is something much darker happening? Oh, and the 1994 Oakville blobs. Gelatinous goo rained from the sky in Washington, causing widespread flu symptoms and animal deaths. Lab tests showed it contained harmless bacteria, which instantly sparked rumors of a localized biological experiment. And then there are cases where investigators are just left completely stumped by the physical evidence. Take the 1966 lead masks case. 2 men are found dead, wearing formal suits and literal lead eye masks. No physical trauma on the bodies whatsoever, just a cryptic note nearby. Then we have the 1951 case of Mary Reeser, a classic, highly debated example of alleged spontaneous human combustion. She was virtually incinerated in her chair, leaving only a left foot and some bone fragments. Yet somehow, the rest of her apartment was almost completely untouched by the extreme heat. Unbelievable. Section 4 now, the truly unexplained, where we push the very boundaries of reality. To talk about this next one, we have to talk about pareidolia, the psychological phenomenon where our brains see recognizable shapes like faces in random patterns. This is the heavily debated cause of the 1971 Faces of Belmez. A Spanish family continuously found disfigured faces appearing in their concrete floor. Even after they tore it up and poured new cement, the faces came back. So the big question we have to weigh impartially here is, are the Faces of Belmez a documented, decades-long paranormal haunting, or just a massive psychological illusion created by our brains desperately wanting to see faces in random concrete textures? We see a similar division of experts with the 1908 Tunguska event. On one hand, you have the meteor explosion theory, arguing that a mid-air blast caused the damage, which is backed up by microscopic vegetation decay found at the site. On the other hand, you have the unknown force theory. This side points out that an absolutely staggering 80 million trees were flattened over 800 square miles of Russian forest, but absolutely no impact crater was ever found. Was it the largest meteor impact in history, or an entirely unknown force? These kinds of phenomena consistently divide us right down the line of supernatural versus natural logic. Take Scotland's Overton Bridge. Since the 1950s, roughly 600 dogs have leaped off it. Locals blame spirits luring them over the edge, while others suspect it's just the overwhelming scent of small animals living below. Then there's the Bimini Road from the 1960s, these incredibly precise underwater limestone blocks in the Bahamas. Is it a man-made artifact pointing to the lost city of Atlantis, like some clairvoyance suggested, or just very unique natural geology? And the 1958 Pollock sisters case, twin girls born with the exact birthmarks and memories of their older sisters who had recently passed away. Was this genuine proof of reincarnation, or just a really elaborate family hoax fueled by grief?
Very often, the official explanations just totally fail to calm the public's imagination. Take the 18th century beast of Gévaudan. Was it a giant wolf, an African hyena, or a lion terrorizing French locals? Nobody really knows. Or the 1997 Phoenix Lights, where thousands of people witnessed a massive V formation moving silently through the night sky. The military officially claimed they were just flares, but the governor and eyewitnesses strongly disagreed. And in 1978, pilot Frederick Valentich completely vanished right after reporting over the radio that a hovering, unknown craft was tracking his plane. His last words? He said it wasn't a regular plane.
And finally, Section 5, the enduring unknown. The mystery is completely buried by time. Consider the SS Orang Medan in 1947. This vessel allegedly sent a chilling SOS that literally read, "I die," before the entire crew was found frozen in terror just before the ship mysteriously exploded. Or look at the Bay of Jars in Brazil. Down in this underwater field, around 200 3rd century Roman jars were found long before Europeans ever supposedly arrived in the region. The area was then mysteriously closed off by the government in 1983. History is packed with these anomalies that provoke intense debate, from chemical weapon cover-ups to total fabrications, and they remind us that someone somewhere often wants these things kept quiet. I absolutely love this quote from our source material because it really hits the nail on the head. The story is, it's sad, it's tragic, it's macabre, but there's something really mysterious about it. And the more you read, the weirder it gets. That perfectly summarizes our journey through this explainer today. While many of these events are undeniably tragic, our innate human drive to understand the macabre just keeps us searching endlessly for answers. From phantom ships and missing pilots to uncrackable codes and gelatinous blobs raining from the sky, we have truly only scratched the surface today. The world is a strange place, and these visual records prove it. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. What other incredible paradigm-shifting mysteries are waiting just out of sight for us to finally decode? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the unknown.